is America.
New podcasts are up now.
Richie V, you're on the air with the nation.
This is America with Rich Valdes.
We need to restore balance.
Download and subscribe. OGPodcastNetwork.com.
All right, America, I am Rich Valdes, and we are back with our guest, John Tabacco. John Tabacco is the host of Liquid Lunch TV on Newsmax TV, live to 75 million homes across America every day between noon and 1 o'clock, straight out of the Newsmax studios, also dubbed the Question Tequila Studios.
That's right.
Right here in New York City. Right now, we are 17 floors above Madison Square Garden here in New York City at Stage 17, WABC Radio. That's Talk Radio 77 WABC, where New York comes to talk. And we're with John Tabacco, who I mentioned before is the former vice president of a subsidiary of Overstock.com known as T0. One of the first companies in the United States to be an early adopter of cryptocurrency. And an hour ago, or an hour and a half ago, I was at Newsmax Studios with John Tabacco, and we were talking about Elijah Cummings and President Trump's tweet saying that he disagreed with the policies that Cummings has put forth over his entire career, saying that Baltimore was vermin infested, and paraphrasing, and that, kind of check yourself. Don't come at me without looking at what you're doing in your own home district. And we talked about that. But now the president is under fire. People are, they're coming at his neck. Why? I don't know, because I don't think it was racist. I don't think there's anything racist in saying, hey, look, you're white, you're Italian, I don't care what you are. If you're unsavory, to say the least, and your policies haven't worked, you're guilty of that. At a minimum, you're guilty of that. What say you, John Tabacco?
Well, first I want to say this. According to Orkin, who is one of the biggest nationwide pest and rodent control companies, they did a study of all 50 states. And lo and behold, Donald Trump was pretty close because Baltimore is number 9 out of 50 states as the most rattiest cities in the country.
So it's in the top 10. Baltimore
it's in
is
the
a
top 10. It's number 9.
Vermin infested city in America.
That's right, and that's from Orkin. That's not from me. So I don't think Donald Trump was that far off by saying rodent infested, because Baltimore, unfortunately, has a problem. They have a number of problems. They've been right up there as the highest income inequality city in the world. So the income inequality between whites and minorities is the biggest almost in the world, certainly in America. So when Donald Trump says the town is rat-infested and crime-infested, these are facts that cannot be debated. And we're seeing over and over again the Republican Party defend against Donald Trump by calling him a racist. So just because you say a town is rodent-infested, I don't know why that means it has to be a racist statement, because I think 40% of Baltimore's population is African American. It doesn't mean every person in Baltimore is African American or minority. So why is this a racist tweet? And I said today on the show that, the Democratic Party is becoming the boy who cried racism. Because every single thing, they don't have a defense of the facts. So they go to character assassination and say racism. And, this is like, OJ's lawyer said, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit.
Right.
The glove don't
I
fit.
think you're right on. This is the go-to for everybody. It's, hey, I don't like you. I don't like what you stand for. I don't like your policies. You're a racist. And it may have worked maybe in 2017, post-election, but I don't know if it has the gravitas that it did for people to be like, oh my gosh, Trump's a racist. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think years ago, especially guys who were trying to make it in media like me and you, that, racism's the third rail, right? If you make a mistake there, you can't put the milk back in the bottle. And I feel like at the same time, the Democrats and the left-wing media are trying to make all these arguments about how Trump's a racist. Every time they make that argument over a point that doesn't really correlate with racism, like rat infestation, white neighborhoods are rat infested. I grew up in Staten Island. We had the largest garbage dump on the face of the earth in Staten Island. We had rats everywhere. And if Donald Trump said it was rat-infested, or if, some minority legislator said it was rat-infested, I wouldn't think they were saying that because we're white.
Right.
I would think they were saying it because we
You
had
had
the
rats.
biggest garbage dump in the world. You know what I mean? And, the way Baltimore's ball teams are playing, maybe they should clean up what's going on at Camden Yards, and that'll cut down on the rat population a little bit because, the Orioles are just sucking.
Let me ask you this. We constantly hear, right? We have Democratic presidential candidates. Joe Biden launched his campaign saying that Donald Trump was a racist with video, with imagery of people with torches burning. We hear it every day. We have this group of 4 women that are known as the Squad. They call him a racist every day. And now we have at least once respected civil rights leader in Elijah Cummings, member of Congress, saying that Trump is a racist as well. John Tabacco, is Donald Trump a racist?
I don't see it. I mean, I'm not behind closed doors. I'm not in any inner circle. I've never heard him say anything that was clearly racist to me. I watch Morning Joke a lot. And on Morning Joke, I watch it in the mornings to get my juices flowing before doing liquid lunch. Say, well, let me see what these
Shadowboxing
idiots are talking about today at Morning Joke. And it's literally a joke how they start framing the narrative for the whole network at 6 a.m. And I'm watching Morning Joke the other day, and I see Donnie Deutsch on there, right? And Donnie Deutsch...
one of your buddies.
Not one of my buddies at all. And, if we weren't on radio, I might transform his last name a little bit further. But let's just say Donnie Deutsch is saying this president's a racist. This president's a criminal, where the guy's, in America, you're innocent until proven guilty. He's had the full weight and breadth of the U.S. Department of Justice and every other investigative body come down on him, and he's found no crimes against him. But Donnie Deutsch finds a reason on Morning Joke to say he's a criminal and he's a racist. And all of us in the Democratic Party, what we need to do is we can't play fair anymore. We have to do whatever we have to do to get this guy out of office. So what's the game plan right now? Stick up for the Squad and call Donald Trump a racist. That's the whole game plan.
Double down. Donald Trump's a racist.
Double down. At some point, it's like grab her by the you-know-what. They played it so many times that it desensitizes people to it. Like, all right, already.
Right, and that's
locker room talk. Okay, fine.
That's
Stop.
initially my thought. They're saying it so much, and like you said, they're the Democrats that cried racism. And it's, in my opinion, it's losing or has already lost all the sizzle.
Listen, racism exists. I'm against racism in every way, shape, or form. I couldn't care less about someone's race. I couldn't care less about their sex. I couldn't care less about their religion. I'm a libertarian. I'm a registered independent. I want small government. I want states' rights. I want the government out of my bedroom, out of my pocketbook. And we always talk about the purple people on Liquid Lunch. The purple people, if you ask me, are most of America, Rich.
Yeah.
These people that are all red and all blue, they're the nut jobs. They're the zealots. And there's a concerted institutional effort by our boards of elections in almost every state in the country, perpetrated on us with the federal government, to eliminate the opportunity for the birth of a third party. Because they don't want those people that have some reds and some blues and identify as purple, they don't want them to have a voice. They want to create this environment where there's a binary. You're either with the blue or you're with the red, because you got to vote Democrat or Republican. And we're trying to talk to purple people. And we're trying to hopefully create a movement where people say, hey, the smart people are these practical people in the middle. Some red, some blue. We put it together. You could be pro-gun and pro-life, right? I mean, what the heck? You could be the opposite of that. And the whole racism thing, to me, they are diminishing the opportunities for other people who are real racists to be identified as racist, because they're just desensitizing America to the word racist when they use it now every single day. I mean, the Democrats were tripping over themselves, Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, to call Joe Biden a racist. And then the Squad was tripping over themselves, calling Nancy Pelosi a racist.
Right.
Now they're both done with it. Now everybody's tripping over themselves to call Trump a racist on this, on that, the other. Everything can't be a racist. Maybe, but it's not the way I see it. There's got to be other thoughtful reasons why things happen, and not just the default, he's the worst guy in the world, he's a racist.
Yeah, I'm with you, John Tabacco. I do agree. We can't continue to say so-and-so is a racist, this is racism, this is out of control, he's a criminal sitting in the White House. I think that's been debunked time and time and time again. But before we go, we have a minute and a half left. I want to just quickly touch on the debt ceiling and the national debt and what it looks like to you. I can tell you what it looks like to me. To me, it looks like we need to tighten the belt. As money has gone up into the bank accounts and pockets of working Americans, spending from the government needs to go down, in principle or primarily entitlements. But there are so many other places that I think that we can trim our budget. Too much politics, not enough policy. What do you say?
Well, in 1 minute, that's going to be hard for me, Rich. But I would say this. We have this grand old magic printing press down there at, the U.S. Federal Reserve. Well, the U.S. government continue to print as much money as we want. And some of these free money policies have contributed to Trump's economy. Okay, now Federal Reserve has started raising rates over the last couple of years, which causes banks to take a little more risk because they can get a higher interest rate from people. But I think the debt ceiling is kind of, it's kind of like Bigfoot and the Boogeyman all put together in one big box, because the debt ceiling is really a fabled thing. There's never a debt ceiling. The ceiling means you can't go any higher.
Sure. Right.
And all we do is keep going higher. There is no teeth to it. So this is another one of those politically created things. We can keep spending money and printing money until the U.S. dollar is not respected as the number one currency on the face of the earth. And when the U.S. dollar starts losing value, then we have a problem. And in the meantime, I'm with you. Small government means less spending, but
I agree. So presuming that's the route that we have been going, at least in my entire lifetime, every debt ceiling vote has always been met with a little bit of a pissing match, and then, okay, we're going to raise the debt ceiling. At what point, or do we ever, address the national debt?
Well, look, I think if Trump wins the second term, this is just a John Tabacco conspiracy.
Okay.
I think if Trump wins the second term, he's going to sit down with Prime Minister Xi, who's one of the biggest holder of U.S. debt, which are the U.S. Treasury bonds that are backing us borrowing all this deficit spending money. And I think he's going to tell Minister Xi, listen, we owe you $500 billion. Let's cut it in half. And I'll get rid of all these little tariffs I put on you. Let's do one big monster deal. And China says, China's on a 100-year plan when we're on a 4-year plan. They're planning for 100 years from now, China. So they may say, hey, you know what? Let's whack out half the U.S. debt. We'll just rip up all these bonds we have over here. The U.S. dollar will be strong. Trump can now take these tariffs away. And
it's a win-win.
I think Trump can address it in a different way that's never been tried before. And I heard some rumblings out of, Stephen Moore and Larry Kudlow, who are Trump's top key economic advisors, that there are out-of-the-box ways to eliminate some of our outstanding debt. Let's get him elected first, and then we'll worry about the debt ceiling. Because the Dems don't give a crap about the debt ceiling at all. So if Trump don't and they don't, then at some point we may have a bubble.
And that's where we're at. So, yeah, Rich Cementa, who's in the control room producing the show, we need to get Larry Kudlow on the show to verify these rumors. And, of course, we want to thank our guest, John Tabacco from Liquid Lunch TV on Newsmax TV. I'm Rich Valdes, and this is America.